Hi there, welcome to the Awakend Pilgrim. My name is Mark, and this is a vlog, a daily vlog on an update on a project. In 2021, I moved down from Vancouver, BC to Mexico, and I've been inspired to start a community which is based in nature, based on natural law, and I've got a whole website for that. If you're interested, I'll put the link at the bottom. And accessing the magic of life, really, and the interconnection of the synchronicities around us. So that have been removed away from our westernized modern civilization. So that's the blog. That's what it's all about. I've got a lot to share today. It's been a while since I've been able to make a vlog, and I'm going to start off with just this moment, just capturing this moment for me. And it's been really challenging over the last 4 days. The way I would describe it is kind of, a plane that's flying and starts to lose altitude because it's not getting enough pressure, it's not being able to have enough power to move forward, and the wings are just losing its ability to hold up, and so it feels like it's time to throw some things all out of the back of the plane to help it stay afloat, let's say, stay flying. Lots of things have been going on with me personally. Last time I actually made the vlog, on the day that I did, one of our dogs, and this was actually particularly my dog, of the pack that we have, we get these litters. We had 30 dogs beginning of the year, and out of that we gave a lot away, and I kept this specific puppy to train Trinity, and unfortunately he died. I don't know, it was an accident, it's not clear, but I think someone killed him. But it's a sad part of the reality of living. Yeah, we have had a lot of dogs pass away, so, and I like to cremate them because it's not really, with the amount of animals that are passing, we can't really, bury them. The soil, there's not a lot of soil, it's very difficult to bury things, make holes here. And if we had to do that, then, basically we would have a lot of the burial sites would be eroded because the animals will come. So I prefer doing a cremation. So I spent some time cremating him, and he is a relatively big dog. I mean, he wasn't even a year old, but very sweet, kind dog, except he had a tenacity to pick on this one gentleman that's working for us here, and I think it was kind of a game for him. And he didn't bite, but he attempted to bite, and the gentleman really didn't like that. So I don't know if there was foul play involved. We just found him the next day. And so that's possible, and there's nothing I can do about it. But that wasn't the worst of it. Then I found out that my cousin committed suicide the next day, leaving 2 kids behind. She was in a state of depression, and I see a lot of individuals in the similar medicated, heavy medication, constantly running after ways to get the new hit. I'm sure there's some that might actually be familiar with that type of individual in their lives, where basically they just choose to be in addiction, right? They've been in and out and struggling to come to terms with the reality and the responsibilities. And so she left her 2 kids behind in their teenage years. It's very sad for me. I haven't seen her since 2019, and I won't be seeing her again. So yeah, and then I found out my dad was admitted to the hospital because they had a surgery at the beginning of the year, and there was some kind of infection that the antibiotics aren't working, and he's been on heavy medication. He's been going through about 7 back operations. He was an avid runner, long distance runner for years, running a race. It's called the Comrades Marathon, and it's like 96 kilometers long, and he ran 10 of these races, and he dedicated most of his life in his, up until the age of 65, I think was his last run. Very strong man, very determined. I admire my dad for his persistence and his ethics. Amazing man. But he also put a toll on his body doing this, and so he's constantly in and out with the. So I actually, it was a great lesson for me to see that wasn't a healthy sport. Long distance running is just not a healthy sport. So, and he thought it was something that he could do, and but as it is with runners, they get a runner's high, and it was his addiction, I guess. So, addiction is I want to say it's kind of part of life, right? We might think, okay, because you don't smoke, because you don't drink, okay, now you do sports, that's not an addiction, but that in itself can become addiction, where in the long run it hurts you, damages you. So it's kind of a weird twist in the way the universe works, that we're trying to do all the good things that we want, but humans have this tenacity to kind of overindulge, everything. So we just want more of the good stuff all the time, the tasty stuff, more ice cream, and eventually catches up to us. So, and then I found out my uncle had to go to the hospital for open heart surgery because he needed a bypass, and so it's been really bad the last couple of days. Just I get these kind of flashes, especially of my cousin. Some of them are just memories of when we were kids and we were playing together, and she was always kind of the one that was a little how can I say, outside of the norm. Like, she wasn't very religious, but she was spiritual, and she was the first one to show me what Ouija boards are with, and spiritual channeling and all the weird stuff that Christianity says don't get involved with. Well, she was involved with all of it. So, and at some stage, she just totally lost it. At some stage, the person I met in 2019 was not the same person that I knew as a kid, and some stage she changed a lot. So in many ways, the person I held dear passed away a long time ago. But I digress. So that's been going on, the personal stuff, a lot of passing away going on. And if you've also been going through a lot of that, know that you're not alone. This period is much of a cleansing period, and personally the same thing goes, where it's a time period really to throw out all the garbage that's holding down the plane's wings. So not only are we seeing it on a cleanse basis, on a mass scale in the people and the relationships we have around us, but personally we also see that there are a lot of things that might be holding on and just attached to you, holding you down from being able to swim or being able to move, in the direction that you're meant to move. So now is the time to recognize those things and cut them off. So it's a tough time, but okay, some good news. I recently put up a kind of like what I want to call deep dive on a subject, and the subject was, can I become Mayan? And very interesting for myself as I went through it, that something popped up for me, which was the need for dedicated Mayan schools in this area. And I thought there were two, but there's one that started not long ago, 2021, and it's struggling. And so that's the only one in the whole peninsula, out of all the provinces. And this state that I'm in is considered one of the core Mayan cultural states, and they don't have a school for Mayan kids. And all the kids that are being brought up in the Mayan villages, let's say, are being forced to go to a colonial school and learn colonial things. And there's nothing about learning the traditions of the agriculture, the traditions of the Temazcal, the religious basis of rituals. So the only example that is available that is somewhat surviving is a school in Zapatista, which is considered fundamentalists. They're almost a terrorist group, but they are not. They're really just sovereign individuals that want to be separate from the state. So there's a great need for us in our project to facilitate a school, and also a special needs school. And if you didn't know, actually, I went to a special needs school for 5 years when I was very young. And it was just an easy diagnosis. It was something that I had a problem with my ability to digest, and it was a gut issue. And once I figured that out when I was younger, a little bit older, I just walked out of the school. I just said, I don't need to be here, and I just walked out. And I think the teacher is still trying to figure out where I am. But the reality is that the special needs kids, gave me a insight into the wonder of being connected with individuals that face a totally different paradigm of reality, that will never be able to run, never be able to swim, never be able to, do anything I could pretty much do today, like in my form of just appreciate, that I have the ability to move things and run and enjoy my environment. They will never have that. Yet at the same time, they hold a lot of wisdom because of that. And it's interesting, in the Mayan culture, the ancients, from what I understand now, the ancient culture revered children that had disabilities. They thought they had some kind of divine connection, and they would use them as kind of a way of getting guidance. I find that very interesting, with the culture actually placed center. Now, I don't know the depth of the entire process. Maybe in some cases, we know about rituals taking place and so on, and I would say a form of euthanasia, where kids that were not seen to be fit to live would probably be sacrificed, right? That is something that that happen in many cultures, right? Like where basically, these kids are born and they've got problems, and so in the past that's how they dealt with them. But the Mayans didn't do that with all the kids. Some of them, they basically did try and they allowed to live as much as they could, right? So maybe the kid looked physically fine and then grew up, and then there's a mental issue, and so that's kind of the category. But that's just the way it was. Reality of life was like that back in those days, and they were trying to do something empathic for the child, So living in nature has its benefits in the sense of the freedoms, but it also has its struggles, being that the reality is that life is difficult, and if you've got a disability, it's going to be hard for you to live in this environment. But the beautiful thing is, we now have a solution. Part of this project is growing in the kind of quality of food that will provide us with the 90 nutrients and amino acids and elements we need to stay healthy. And most of the disabilities of our children is based in lack of nutrition. So we have a solution for that, and we are able to produce 95% of this food, and one of our projects is basically showing how to do that. So and to reduce the amount of disabilities going on. So those are really key aspects for the core of our project, and it's really changed a little bit of my dynamic in trying to understand where can we make a huge difference. And this is it. This is having a authentic Mayan school where they actually teach in the language, having a combination, of course, where you have English, you can Spanish, and you can teach. Obviously, it needs to be within the requirements of the federal state, but at the same time, then also to make it open for disabilities, and at the same time with that orphanage. So, but here's the difference. In this project, we're not planning like most projects. They think in terms of big scale, schools, big scale, everything is big scales. What we're looking at is trying to accommodate, let's say, 20 children with these particular needs, and then go and replicate that system in other villages, not expect everybody to come into the centralized place. So to help others to become teachers so that we can start schools and open up also for disabilities and orphanages in other parts of this area instead of having it centralized. So that's really the big difference in this project, is not to kind of become a big project, but to become more of a school where we can actually integrate with the environment, the other Mayans around you, and then go and kind of like produce a platform where they can start to actually create the infrastructure and build the systems they need to facilitate for their own needs, for their own children and their elders. So that's been a predominant aspect now that's come into focus, and we've had it in the background, but it wasn't the forefront. And so this is kind of what's changing with this project now, is seeing that no one's doing this, someone has to do it. Not only do we need help with the bees, but we really need help with a Mayan school that's authentically based. So yeah, there's a lot to offer. We did have, okay, let me move on. So that was kind of more my personal experience the last couple of days. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, I can't tell you how much problems I've had with production. I had to do that video with, creating this deep dive. I had to do it 3 times. The first time the audio was doubled and you couldn't listen to it. The second time there was some issue with the recording. It didn't finish, half of it was recorded. So I did it a third time, and so finally, but then the video froze. So I just put a shot of myself there instead of having me interact, because you can't see it anyway. So that's why that is the way it is. And then on top of it, just working with equipment. I'm working with a 13-year-old laptop that was broken. We kind of got it fixed, and it just takes forever to render the videos, right, and stuff. And I'm so disappointed because I did actually receive funding for this, for a new computer. I ordered it. It came, and unfortunately, because of the tariffs, they expected us to pay an extra huge amount. It was like another the computer itself was like $300, and they wanted us to pay another $150, and I couldn't get the money in time, and so DHL sent it to a warehouse. At the same time, the receivers didn't tell us that it was actually being received, so we didn't know until it was too late anyway. And they ended up sending it to a warehouse, and that was the last of it. And we bought it to AliExpress, and I never really I contacted them, sent 3 requests in, one after the other, and they kept on saying I don't have enough proof to show that the item wasn't delivered. So that's that's very frustrating, because I did get help, and it was just a matter of this situation of bad communication of the delivery, and then just this no help from AliExpress. So that was my experience there. So lesson learned, we won't be using them again. So those are the things that are going on. Okay, so let's move on to the project specifically. Good news is that we had a meeting with Ma Earth, which is quite a huge supporter of bio projects like this one, right? And so we got in contact with them. Finally, it's been taking us months to get this meeting, and we ended up sitting in a situation. Oh, sorry, I got an alarm here. I hope that's still recording. Yeah. Okay, it looks like it's still recording. Sorry. I am, while we're on the subject, because this alarm actually went off, it's for my daily Oxaloc amplification meditation group, which I started with Lynn McTaggart's community. And if you want to, you're more than welcome to join me. It's only a 20-minute, it depends if there's new people, but it's 20 minutes to 40 minutes process. And we are doing it on the sidereal time, so which is the alignment, the most aligned period where apparently your intentions and your meditations, the effects of that go up by 400% during this time period. So it's coming up soon. So this is a time period where a lot of your intentions really do make kind of a difference, it seems like it. So something to think about. Please come join me if you can. Anyway, I know I'm all over the place. You know how these things are. There's a lot to be said and there's a lot of different subjects. So moving back to the meeting we had with Ma Earth, they were expecting us, and like most of these projects, it's kind of like a chicken egg situation where they wanted to show revenue, but for you to show net revenue, you need funding. So you need, startup funding. And we have received, a tremendous amount of startup funding. Well, not a tremendous, but a significant amount of startup funding. And we built cabins, and we, basically try to put a system in place that we can get some small amount of income anyway. But over time, the economy now, or the situation is, there's just no real economy for tourists here just yet, and so that's where we are with that. So we need to get some more startup funding. And Ma Earth said to us, well, you guys are kind of in the beginning stages, so we got another program for you. So we have to wait another couple of months before we can start that program. So that's the good news, is that they do see the value, they like what we're doing, but we need to wait for the next wave of funding that will be available for startups. So that's good news, but it just means we've got a lot of waiting to do. What else? So, finally got the pool. Last week I was talking about how dirty the pool is, and you could see how green and, it was full of fungi. So last minute, and this is kind of how it goes here, is that the owner eventually brought the smaller pump that I needed to use to remove all the water out of the big pool. And in doing so, he dropped it in the morning. I was busy with a couple of meetings, and then I got told, in the afternoon, hey, we need to get this finished by today because tomorrow there's a big event. And surprise, this is just this typical bad form of communication management, not telling me when is the requirement. And I spent majority of the day then finishing up on cleaning the pool, and we had it nice, and we didn't even have the pool up to water level when the people were coming, because that's how close call it was. And I wanted to take photos and so on, but anyway, with the kids and stuff, I ended up taking I'll put that in the clip here, and you can see the water is so murky, and it's been used once for one day. So it's really frustrating because they don't understand what it takes for water to stay clean. So that at least is done, but I suspect it's going to be needing help soon again. Right, so we finally got it cleaned, and this is just yesterday. We couldn't even get the water up all the way, but they started using it, and just after one day's use, it's kind of murky, and I can tell you in 2-3 days it's going to be green again. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but at least it's done. So that's the pool, and then as far as communications, we haven't moved on with that. I'll be getting back to it later because we need to install these antennas, and so we don't have the funding for that yet. And moving to our next base camp, we need electricity that is a little bit more supportive and infrastructurally sound. And the problem with us moving, we want to move to this new location, but they don't have electricity all the time. In fact, it's almost, I would say, once every second or third day they're sitting without electricity. So we need to have like a backup system, and I've been working with a couple of different contractors, but they all just want to oversell. Like, I'm just like, we just need a backup, right? Like, we need some batteries and inverter, and that's it basically, right? And a way to be able to repair equipment that you can repair easily. But everybody wants to sell you the fancy, it's sealed in. If something goes wrong, you got to replace the whole box. So they constantly, and then we only need a certain amount. We only need like 5 kilowatts, but they want to sell like 10, 20 kilowatts, right? So it's a constant battle with the contractors because they don't get any value if they just do a small little project, right? So they're constantly trying to sell you up. So yeah, so we're looking at that, and that's about it for the project at the moment. I'm busy with an update for the last couple of days, and a complete update. I'll be bringing that up with a couple more things. So I'm busy with that on the computer, and that's what's kind of keeping me busy right now. It's funny because I was really frustrated in Vancouver working. You know, it was a union job, was not well paid, but had a lot of freedoms in it. You know, you get your job done, you could basically have free time, and I started 2 businesses because of that. So while I was busy working and I could finish that work, I then started a life insurance company or business on the side with World Financial Group, which was good learning experience, and it gave me insight into the world of finances. And then I also started a cryptocurrency educational course. So while I was there, so it gave me a lot of freedom, right? So, but ultimately the biggest challenge I had was all the time that was required to create the reports. And one way to know that you're living in I got a bee in my hair now. One way to know that you are in a bureaucratic system is when the reporting takes more time to complete the actual work. You know, like you get the work done, but it takes you like double the time to do the reporting. And that's how it is with, for instance, cops, right? That's like the action can be 5 minutes, but then they've got an hour of reporting. So yeah, it's terrible. And unfortunately, this is starting to feel like that to me. Like these little reports are feeling more like bureaucracy than anything else. But anyway, it's necessary. So this is the new path, I guess. Okay, so I'm moving on. I want to see if I covered everything. I did make a couple notes, and obviously my notebook is not here anymore. I had it on a notepad. So, but those are the things that kind of cover this report today. And yeah, feeling a little bit down, but you know, I feel like there's a turning point coming, and it just got to get better. It's just got to get better, right? So, okay, lots of love. Stay strong. You're not alone.
Autonomy is unlike any other educational offering on the planet. It's an incubator for growth, an accelerator for creating relationships, creating and establishing long-term relationships. It's an elevator of understanding and a generator for creating plans, expediting and solving life's problems and challenges, and overcoming the obstacles blocking your path. And doing so on a consistent basis with a calm, cool, collected atmosphere. It all happens here. And with nearly 1,000 graduates, I know what I teach works. I know you have the ability to learn it. I know it can work for you as well or better than it has for me. When I acquired these skills for myself, it was a struggle because I had never invested that much in my own self-education. However, I would never have earned a 200-fold return on my investment in the first 5 years of applying these skills in the marketplace. That was a game changer for me. This is truly $1 million education, and everything I teach is what I've used for my own growth and success over the past 3 decades. Sharing the opportunity to do so is likewise a game changer for those who are willing to know and willing to learn and show up for themselves in the game of life. And with all that being said, I invite you to engage in finding out for yourself in the Autonomy Primer course. I'll see you on the other side.